You open your eyes in the middle of the field of Grunwald, where the earth trembles beneath thousands of horse hooves. And the air is thick with the smell of burning grass, horse sweat, leather, and heated metal.
Before you, white cloaks bearing black crosses silently close their ranks.
Far ahead, the banners of Poland and Lithuania flutter through yellow-grey dust.
A trumpet sounds, but no one around you truly hears the command anymore. A knight tightens the reins beside you, his hands trembling faintly beneath iron gloves.
He whispers a prayer, as if heaven itself stands upon the edge of his sword. The summer sun pours over the armor, turning the whole battlefield into a giant furnace. You hear men shout the name of God, then the thunder of horses charging straight into chaos. In that moment, the invincible legend of the Teutonic Order begins to crack. But before this field swallowed their honor, the story had begun very far away. It began beside the walls of Acre, among the wounded, the pilgrims, and the Mediterranean Sea. Those who wore white were not born to rule the Baltic with the sword. They once bent down to wash wounds, give water, and shelter exhausted souls. So what turned a healing brotherhood into a feared state of war? Why did the Black Cross stretch from a Crusader hospital to the snowy forests of the north? Who won? Who lost everything? And who survived to tell the tale? Subscribe to the channel, then step with me into the cold mist of history. Behind the clash of steel lies a story of faith, ambition, and power. And on this field of Grunwald, the last great Crusaders are about to face their destiny. You move backward from Grunwald, and the thunder of hooves fades into the sound of waves outside the port of Acre.
Before you stands a burning city wall, covered in salt dust and the smoke of war.
Below the wall, canvas tents crowd together with wounded men, pilgrims, and exhausted soldiers. You step through dried mud, hearing groans of pain mixed with prayers spoken in German. The men serving inside the tent do not carry long spears, but cloth, water, and bandages. They bend beside feverish bodies, wiping blood, washing sand, and supporting the dying.
This is the humble beginning of the Teutonic Order during the Third Crusade.
They were born not from a throne, but from the survival needs of German pilgrims. Inside Acre, language, disease, hunger, and war made human beings fragile. You watch a young brother lift a bowl of water, his eyes red from many sleepless nights. Far outside, a watchtower shakes as siege engines hurl stones against sunburned walls. Inside the tent, a silent vow takes shape between charity and fear. These men promise to care for the sick, protect the weak, and serve beneath the cross. But in the Holy Land, mercy rarely survived without a blade beside it. You see hands once used to bind wounds begin learning to fasten the straps of armor. White cloaks appear, with the black cross standing out like a wound. The Hospital Brotherhood gradually becomes an organized order of priestly knights. They still pray and care for patients, but now they also escort and fight. You stand in a small chapel, hearing prayers echo beneath a low stone roof and candle smoke. Time passes, and the Holy Land grows increasingly unstable under pressure from Muslim powers. The coastal fortresses still burn with lamps, but everyone feels the horizon closing in. You look at a map spread across a wooden table, where Jerusalem has become a painful memory. Acre remains a gateway, but no longer a certain promise for the future. And so the gaze of the Teutonic Order begins to turn away from the hot southern sea. It turns toward the forests of the north, where snow covers rivers and marshes. There, the Baltic region still lies on the edge of the Western Christian world.
The Old Prussians, Lithuanians, and many local communities still hold their own beliefs.
To Western clerics, this land is a frontier that must be converted at any cost. To neighboring lords, it is also land, taxes, ports, and power. Cold wind slips through the doorway, while reports of raids lie on the table. Border people fear burned villages, stolen herds, and children disappearing into the forest. The Duke needs a force stronger than the scattered feudal troops around him. The Order needs a new battlefield, a new mission, and a land where it can take root. In that moment, religion and politics clasp hands beneath flickering candlelight. You hear envoys speak of conversion, border defense, and the expansion of Christian order. But behind each sacred word, the wheels of power begin to turn. The Teutonic Knights move into Prussia, bringing monks, builders, mercenaries, and charters. The Baltic forest greets them with fog, mud, ravens, and nameless paths. You travel with the column through wet tree trunks, your hand gripping reins slick with rain. Every fortress they raise declares that the Order will not leave. The first wooden posts are slowly replaced by brick walls, watchtowers, and chapels. You see villages forced into submission, native people baptized, and chieftains made to swear loyalty. Some submit to survive, while others hide their anger deep inside the forest. War here is nothing like the splendid charges told in knightly tales. It is long winters, short ambushes, and fortresses slowly starved under siege. The Teutonic Order learns to turn monastic discipline into frozen battlefield discipline. Each day begins with prayer, then continues with patrols, construction, and judgment. You cross a fortress yard, hearing hammers strike brick beside the chapel bell. Their state grows not through a single victory, but brick by brick. German merchants arrive, towns rise, and the river becomes a road of transport.
In Western eyes, they are the sword protecting Christendom's frontier from darkness.
In the eyes of many Baltic people, they are strangers arriving with crosses and chains. Then Marienburg rises beside the Nogat River, red as a fortress born from fire. You stand before the huge gate, watching the Black Cross cast its long shadow on the bricks. From a hospital on the Mediterranean shore, the Teutonic Order has become a ruling power in the north. And when those castle gates close, Europe knows a new Crusader state has been born. You step through the gate of Marienburg, where red brick rises like an artificial cliff. Inside, the chapel bell blends with the sound of horse hooves striking the stone yard. This is no longer a temporary camp deep in the forest and cold mist. This is the heart of a state built from vows, steel, and discipline. You see knights pass by, white cloaks covering heavy chainmail armor. They do not speak loudly or laugh often, only walking evenly like a praying machine. Each man is monk, warrior, and brick inside one shared structure of power. On the long table, black bread, salted fish, and wooden cups are placed in straight lines. After the meal, they hear prayers, receive orders, and scatter toward frontier castles. You follow a column of riders leaving the castle, while dawn still lies silver on the river. Before you lies Prussia, divided into patrol roads, settlement villages, and tax points. New roads cut through the forest, linking castles with towns and harbors. Each town has walls, a market, a church, warehouses, and people speaking German. The Teutonic Order conquers not only through battles, but through documents and laws. You see scribes record fields, grain taxes, herds, and military obligations. A chaotic frontier is slowly forced into the shape of a state. But beyond the measured fields, the deep forest still preserves the memory of the natives. The old Prussian communities do not vanish in a single night beneath baptismal water. Some obey to keep their families alive, some flee into the forest, and some rise in rebellion.
You hear a horn in the night, then see fire bloom from a distant watchtower.
War returns like cold slipping through clothing, quiet but never ending. The Teutonic Knights answer with fast campaigns through snow and marsh. They burn stores, raise more outposts, take hostages, and force chieftains to swear loyalty. Each small victory opens the way for another castle to rise on conquered land. You stand on the wall, watching thin smoke rise from unfamiliar roofs.
In the Order's eyes, this is the price of bringing Christian order to the north.
For the people subdued, it is the day their old world is locked behind an iron gate. Then the map of power changes when the Livonian sword brothers merge into the Order. That event extends the shadow of the Black Cross across the eastern Baltic routes. From Prussia to Livonia, the castles begin to look like chain links tightening around the cold sea. You cross grey waters by boat, hearing sailors speak of ports, furs, and amber.
Trade enriches the Order, and wealth feeds more horses, soldiers, and walls.
Western nobles also arrive, seeking glory in the northern seasons of war. They see this journey as a pilgrimage by the sword, beneath snow and cross.
You see young knights from Germany, France, and England standing in a castle yard.
They hunger for honor, but do not yet understand how the Baltic forest can swallow pride.
The Order's greatest enemy now is Lithuania, vast, hard, and flexible.
Lithuanian warriors know the forests and marshes, and know how to disappear after striking. They do not always meet head-on, but strike wagons, isolated forts, and crops. You ride through a muddy road and see the marks of an ambush carved into tree trunks. A burned supply wagon lies tilted, while torn sacks of grain spill under the rain.
For the Teutonic Order, Lithuania is the reason to keep raising the banner of holy war.
But history begins slipping from their hands when Lithuania enters the Christian world. The union between Poland and Lithuania creates an opponent larger than any fortress. When the people once called pagan receive baptism, the Order's reason for war becomes fragile. You hear advisors argue in a stone room, their voices echoing beneath a cold vault.
If there are no pagans left to fight, what will they say to keep land, taxes, and reinforcements?
The answer lies in Samogitia, the land connecting Prussia and Livonia like a vital bridge.
Whoever holds Samogitia can connect the two arms of Teutonic power around the Baltic. Whoever loses Samogitia will see the Black Cross state divided and slowly strangled. You stand beside a leather map and see the commander's finger strike the disputed region.
Small ink lines on the map suddenly become burning villages, marching armies, and cold graves.
Tension rises through insulted envoys, broken treaties, and repeated uprisings.
The Teutonic Order believes discipline, castles, and reputation will force its enemies to retreat. But Poland and Lithuania are learning to turn their differences into shared strength.
The Poles bring heavy cavalry, infantry, and the power of a rising kingdom.
The Lithuanians bring speed, frontier experience, and long memories of invasion.
You arrive at the Teutonic camp on the night before the decisive battle, with fires burning beneath a moonless sky. White cloaks hang to dry, while the knights sharpen their swords in silence. No one knows that dawn will lead them to Grunwald, where an entire legend will break in two. Dawn pours over Grunwald, and you see thin mist crawling through the low grass. The Teutonic camp awakens in the sound of reins, clashing armor, and hoarse prayers. Against the pale sky, the Black Cross stands clear on the white cloaks of the knights.
Across the field, the Polish and Lithuanian army spreads wide like a living wall.
You hear the man beside you swallow hard, though he has survived many seasons of war.
The summer sun rises quickly, heating the armor until warmth pours through every iron gap.
The two armies wait too long, and silence becomes more frightening than trumpets.
From the Teutonic line, two swords are sent forward as a challenge full of pride.
You watch the envoys ride across the field, dust curling around their hooves like thin smoke.
The message does not merely demand battle, it also tries to touch the enemy's honor. Then the trumpet tears the air, and the Lithuanian wing begins to race forward. The earth shakes beneath a wave of cavalry as bows and long spears lower together. You see the Teutonic line tighten as the first impact crashes down like thunder. Splintering wood, screaming horses, and men calling to each other merge into a storm of confusion.
The Lithuanian wing strikes hard and withdraws quickly, making many knights believe the enemy has broken. Some Teutonic units spur their horses in pursuit, rushing through dust with faith in victory.
But the battlefield does not open a road to glory. It opens a dangerous emptiness.
You turn back and see that the Polish center still stands firm under heavy pressure.
The red and white banners do not vanish, though charge after charge crashes into the ranks. Polish heavy cavalry keeps its rhythm, while infantry grips the ground like roots in a storm. The Order sends more forces into the effort, believing one more strike will decide everything. You run with a group of knights through thick dust, almost unable to see the sky. Orders vanish inside the noise of steel, and each man can see only the enemy before him. The Grand Master of the Order enters the most dangerous place, trying to turn honor into victory.
But the Polish and Lithuanian forces begin to close like an iron door across the open field.
The forces that once withdrew return, striking where the Teutonic knights cannot turn in time. You see belief on the knights' faces turn into confusion with terrible speed. A Teutonic banner leans downward, then disappeared among people and crushed grass.
Senior commanders fall or are captured one after another, and the ranks lose their rhythm.
No one speaks of glory anymore. Only scattered calls and trembling hands remain.
The Battle of Grunwald ends in a heavy defeat for the Teutonic Order and its allies. Thousands are killed or captured, and the Order's military leadership suffers a severe blow. The victors are the Union of Poland and Lithuania, along with the forces that stood beside them. The loser is the Teutonic Order, but its greatest loss is not only in numbers. What breaks on that field is the image of the Black Cross as unbeatable. You pass torn flags and broken spears, seeing afternoon light fall over an era going dark. After the victory, the Allied army moves toward Marienburg, where the red brick castle still towers beside the river. You stand below the enormous wall, hearing stones fall and defenders shout above. The fortress does not fall, and the Teutonic Order survives through high walls and remaining organization. But that survival is like a lamp in the wind, still burning, but no longer warm. War drains the treasury, while ransoms, mercenaries, and debts press down on every town.
Inside Prussia, cities and nobles begin resenting the Order's rule. You hear merchants whisper in the market that the Black Cross takes more than it protects. Those who once relied on the Order now look toward Poland as another choice. The long decline leads to the 13 Years' War, a conflict that exhausts the Order. You see fortresses change hands, their gates opened by money, hunger, or betrayal. When the second Peace of Thorn is signed, the map of power is no longer the same. Poland gains Royal Prussia, with important lands, cities, and ports. The remaining Teutonic lands in the east become a vassal of the Polish crown.
The Order still exists, but its shadow has grown shorter on the Baltic snow.
You return to Marienburg and feel its wide halls colder, as if the castle remembers defeat.
White cloaks still appear in the chapel, but their footsteps no longer sound certain. Then time carries the story to 1525, when the old Order cracks for the final time. The Grand Master chooses conversion and secularizes the frontier lands of the Order. The land once ruled by monastic vows becomes the Duchy of Prussia under Polish protection. You watch the white cloak folded away, the Black Cross lying still like a memory. No gate of heaven opens, only a new map spread across a wooden table. The Crusader state in Prussia has ended, but the seed of Prussian power has not disappeared. From the Hospital of Acker to Grunwald and Thorn, the Teutonic Order has completed its arc of fate. And as the distant bells fade, the last Crusaders step away from the stage of history. The rise of the Teutonic Order began with the need to protect German pilgrims. In Acre, full of disease and war, charity put on armor. But when the Holy Land weakened, that mission found a new frontier in the Baltic. There, faith, fear, and territorial ambition blended into the same flame. The lords needed armies, the church needed conversion, and the Order needed lasting power. That is why the Northern Campaign was not only a matter of prayer and crosses. It was also about fortresses, taxes, trade, laws, and maps being redrawn.
Prussian villages, Lithuanian forests, and Baltic harbors became battlefields of a new order. The Teutonic Order turned monastic discipline into a steel machine of state power.
But that success made them look more like a worldly power than a religious order. When Lithuania converted and allied with Poland, the reason for holy war began to weaken. Grunwald revealed that white cloaks could not hide ambition forever. That defeat did not erase the order at once, but it broke its halo. After that, cities, nobles, and enemies all looked at the Black Cross differently. The Peace of Thorn made Teutonic power shrink, while Poland reached strongly toward the Baltic. The secularization of Prussia closed the age of the Order's Crusader state. But history did not end when the cloak was folded away in silence. From those remnants, Prussia would later become a major name in Europe. So the Teutonic Order is not only a story of knights, but of faith changing shape. When vows meet power, history can build fortresses and leave ghosts behind.